Order. Questions to the Prime Minister. Gwyn Prosser.
Number one, sir.
Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in the House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I join the Prime Minister in welcoming President Sarkozy and Mrs. Sarkozy to Britain. It is now nearly 8 months since the start of the credit crunch, and one of the key questions is how well prepared we are. Does the Prime Minister now accept that in terms of financial regulation, the UK has been shown to have some serious failings?
We've already looked at some of the changes that can be made, both in the Financial Services Authority, and there's a report of the Treasury Committee today, and in the Bank of England. But if I may say so, if he now looks around the world and sees what happens to Bear Stearns, see that 3 banks have fallen in Germany, what happened to Société Générale in France, then he'll see that we have been better protected than other countries against the global financial turbulence. And it's precisely because we didn't take the advice that would have caused instability from the opposition.
People around the world are making a contrast between Bear Stearns, where a rescue was organised in just a few days, and Northern Rock, where there was months of dithering. I know that the Prime Minister created the regulatory system, but he needs to be frank about its failings. The FSA report today is a remarkable report, which says the supervision of Northern Rock revealed the most significant combination of shortcomings, yet not a word about that from the Prime Minister. The Director General of the CBI says that this was the first new test of the tripartite system and it failed to deliver the goods. So that we're better prepared in future, does the Prime Minister agree with me that the Bank of England, not the Financial Services Authority, should be in charge of rescuing banks that fail?
Mr. Speaker, first of all, until a few weeks ago, he supported what we did on Northern Rock, so it makes no sense for him to criticise now. Secondly, as far as the Financial Services Authority is concerned, it is true that the Financial Services Authority have been regulating for solvency, and they've done a good job. The problem arose in terms of liquidity, and that's where further efforts have got to be made. But that is true, as the President of America's report is saying, for the American financial system. It's true of the French and the German financial system as well. And all countries are realising that you've got to do more to protect against illiquidity, and they also know that there's got to be greater transparency in the financial system. So the lessons that are being learnt around the world. And I repeat, the Conservative Party actually published a document in the last 2 days saying that far from Britain doing badly, real living standards in Britain amongst pensioners had risen by £1,500 since 2001, from single women pensions £1,000, couples £700. That's page 16 of the Conservatives' own document.
What is... I tell you what that document said. It said, since this man became Prime Minister, the price of milk is up 17%, the price of eggs is up 28%, the price of bread is up 34%. That's the real cost of living under Labour. But the Prime Minister, in his last answer, said an extraordinary thing. He said the Financial Services Authority has done a good job. What he hasn't read is the report out today by the Financial Services Authority that says this. The Financial Services Authority is short of expertise in some fundamental areas, notably prudential banking experience and financial data analysis. Aren't those the absolutely key things you need to be a regulator? Isn't that why the Bank of England should be in charge of these rescues rather than the Financial Services Authority? Now, the Chancellor... They don't like to hear the extent of the failure. The extent of the failure of the system put in place by the Prime Minister. Now, the Prime Minister and the Chancellor, the Prime Minister and the Chancellor have made several U-turns recently. Why don't they make one more U-turn and make the Bank of England responsible?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I know what the chairman of his Defence Commission meant, Frederick Forsyth, when he said that David Cameron has a sketchy grasp of basic arithmetic because he does not understand what is happening. The FSA have admitted that they must do more about liquidity problems. But every financial organisation around the world that is regulating markets is accepting the need to do more. And I think he would be better addressing the real problem that we have faced. The real problem that we've been faced is off-balance sheet activities, write-offs that have not been properly declared, credit rating agencies that have done the job of being advisors as well as raters, and these are the problems that have got to be addressed. Instead of just blaming the Financial Services Authority, he should look at the real problems that President Sarkozy and I will address today, and the real problems will not be solved by someone who's got no basic grasp of arithmetic.
Order. Leader of the Opposition.
It's time the Prime Minister and the Chancellor...
Order. The Leader of the Opposition.
It's time the Prime Minister and the Chancellor realise that one of the real problems facing Britain is their economic mismanagement. It is frankly pathetic to listen to the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom read out quotes from a novelist when he actually ought to be reading out from the Financial Services Authority report. A key point in terms of how well prepared we are is the size of the government's budget deficit. Out of 55 major world economies, only 3 economies have a bigger budget deficit than Britain. That's why he's putting up taxes. Most other countries are helping families with the cost of living. This government is hitting them. Can he name one other major country that's just introduced a budget putting up taxes? Name one.
Mr. Speaker, we are injecting more money into the economy this year. We are not taking money out of the economy. We are cutting the basic rate of income tax to 20p. And let us just compare, Mr. Speaker, what was happening in the last world downturn. 15% interest rates, 10% inflation, 3 million people unemployed, public spending being cut, then taxes rising dramatically with VAT on fuel. And let's compare that with what's happening now. We have low inflation, low interest rates, we have the highest levels of employment in our history, unemployment the lowest since 1975, and public services continue to expand. And if he doesn't accept that today, just remember that he said on Monday on BBC Radio London, interest rates, he stated, still look low historically. We have kept interest rates low.
Not only has the Prime Minister not read the report from the Financial Services Authority, it's pretty clear he hasn't read his own budget. Pages 111 and 112 of the Red Book show taxes going up in the budget. Everybody knows taxes have just gone up. Every time you fill up the car, taxes have gone up. Every time you buy a car, taxes have gone up. Every time the family goes shopping. No wonder every pub in Britain is trying to ban the Chancellor from having a pint. Let me ask, he hasn't answered a single question, so let's just try this once again. Can he name one other major country that is responding to the downturn by putting up taxes? Name one.
Mr. Speaker, we are injecting more money into the economy this year. He simply does not understand basic arithmetic. The basic rate of income tax is going down to 20p. And let us look at our record. Inflation in Britain is 2.5%. In America, it's 4%. In the euro area, it's over 3%. So which country has the lowest rate of inflation of the major countries? It is Britain. We have kept interest rates low, and where unemployment is 8% in Germany, 8% in France, rising in America, unemployment is the lowest in Britain since 1975 and is half the rate of our European partners. Now that is a government that is better prepared for a world downturn. The problem is that the Conservative Party want 10 billion of tax cuts. They want to say they'll raise public expenditure. They want to say borrowing should fall. They want tax cuts at the moment, they say, to boost the economy. That is the same recipe they followed in 1992, and it led to the worst recession since the war. And who was the economic advisor to the Treasury at the time? None other than the Leader of the Opposition.